When I think about the counselor, I think about all the things that we have questions for, right? Many of us have questions about our lives, our situations, marriages, our jobs, our employment, our children, and so forth. When I think about that, and you say, hey, who can I talk to? Why not the counselor? The counselor is here. He's here for you. So call the counselor. 10 to 2, the counselor.
Welcome back to The Counselor, and I am your host, Sheldon Stovall. All right, so we are continuing our conversation on body image. And more importantly, we're going to start discussing more about eating disorders. We're going to talk about some symptoms and things that you might have to look out for. And of course, if any of this subject matter is something that might be concerning to you, or someone you know, remember you can always pick up the phone. You can call the number that's scrolling on the screen. You can email me at promo@thecounselor.live, or you can slide up in my DMs. All right, so last time we were talking about in part 1, how does body image affect children's social skills? So children ages 9 to 12 in Spain who are happy with their bodies have greater skills to understand and appreciate the emotions of others. They have greater flexibility, so they're more understanding, right? They understand when someone might be gaining some weight, right? It could be a thyroid situation, thyroid gland, right? It could be some other situation. So when you're not as self-absorbed in your own image, you're going to take the time to be a little bit more flexible and actually care about someone else and how they feel. Okay? And effectiveness to resolve conflicts. So you're going to resolve your issues effectively, not calling someone a fat pig or your big hog toes, right? All these different things that people say that are so mean, right? Your 7X. I've heard a lot of these things. I used to take the public school bus for a little bit, right? So some of these words and things that kids say, you don't realize how mean you are. So if you're having a conflict, yes, you're going to say something because you're upset, right? You're going to say something you didn't mean, but you understand that hurts that other person's feelings. So although you did not physically pick up your hands and begin to swing at someone, right? What you did was you hurt their self-esteem and you started making them feel bad about themselves. All right, so you want to think about that, kids, all right? I'm talking slowly because I want you guys to really clearly understand this. How does body image affect sexuality, sexual activity in youth? All right, girls who experience poor body images are more likely to engage in sexual activity at younger ages. Under 12 through 15. All right, so this is hard. That's a hard thing to think about. So what it sounds like is ultimately the plan, right? Let's put her down and then everybody can go after her for, because she doesn't feel that well about herself, so she'll give herself. That's the thought process these kids are doing. So girls, I want you to think about that. When some of these boys are trying to say certain things about your body, that it could be an attractive thing, that they're attractive to you. Right. So I've noticed in my lifetime, like certain girls will sit there and literally ignore me. Like I'm standing right here in their face, and they're acting like I'm not standing there. Right. Some people, when they're attracted to you, they ignore you. Interesting. Right. If somebody's attracted to me, they usually talk to me. I don't know. Some people ignore you. Right? So don't think it as, someone does not attracted to me because they're ignoring you. That's another way of someone trying to communicate their feelings, and they can. How gorgeous am I? You're beautiful. So, of course, they want to ignore you at first. They can't believe what sight they're seeing, right? So how beautiful you are, right? So you want to just make sure you understand that you look good when you look in the mirror. Who cares what anyone else is saying? I mean, things happen. People grow up the way they grow up. You can't make them look any different. Okay? In a study, how do body image and appreciation affect depression? So in a study looking at mistreated youth, the following was found. Depressive symptoms are correlated with lower body appreciation and higher body dissatisfaction in children ages 9 to 12. Right? So kids start becoming depressed. How come I don't look like Kobe Bryant? How come I can't dunk like Kobe Bryant? Because you can't even get on the big rides at Six Flags. That's why. All right? The important thing, parents, is to always encourage kids. You listen, what do they look like? That's who they look like. They have parents that look like how they look. Your child looks like how you look. Right? And then show some family pictures. This is this aunt, this is that aunt, Uncle Sheldon is the best looking one in the family. You can see that. You'll say that, to the kids. They'll start seeing what they look like. They look like the rest of their family. Right? So it's not about someone being unattractive. It's that they haven't met the rest of the family. And then you can see the beauty. Right? You can start seeing beauty in people with their family. Right? They have the same genetic genes. Right? So it's not always about what you look like. You might just look different than someone else that looks some other different than you. That makes sense if you replay that. So noses, for example, my nose isn't pointy and straight. That's okay. That's what I look like. Right? Does that mean that my nose doesn't look right because it doesn't look like your nose? No. And I could be the same thing, thinking the same thing. How come yours nose looks like that and mine doesn't look like yours, or yours doesn't look like mine, right? So you want to correct your thoughts about your body image. You look like who you look like. And goodness, who wants to look like some of these people, right? I'm sorry. I just can't sit there and not eat to have a six-pack so that you can see my rib cage. I can't. I'll be hungry. I will be hungry. Okay? I don't need to look that good, right? But that's okay for people that are into that self-image, and that's okay. But we have to worry about it causing depression, is my point, right? So we have to look for these signs in our children that, these could be issues that can cause severe depression in our young people. All right, boys ages 9 to 12 who experience maltreatment show lower body appreciation, though now not higher body dissatisfaction. All right. So young boys, when they get, start doing swimming and having to disrobe in the locker rooms, boys will be boys, as they say, and everybody's pulling off people's towels and people are being exposed left and right. I mean, geez, it was weird to see. But, this is what was going on. I just failed in gym because I didn't have time for that weirdness. But, some people, they dealt with it. I just said, I'd rather take an F. I'm not doing that. But, some of those things go on in locker room and boys start seeing that they're a different size than other boys, right? And then they're like, oh my goodness, why, so they start seeing differences, right? So again, when that starts going on, those image issues start creating other issues, right? So fathers, you will know if your son is going through that image issue, if you understand what I mean. So talk to your son and tell him what, some things that he may be experiencing, if you understand what I mean. So sometimes, dads, you guys can prevent some of these issues too, right? People are different sizes. They're different sizes for a reason, right? So you need to explain that early and then talk to your son about how you lived through that. All right, we won't talk about that too much. I can see people blushing through the television screen. Boys ages 9 to 12, that's what they experience. All right, so let's talk about race and ethnicity, how that impacts your body and image, right? So body image discrepancy rates, 71% of 5th through 8th grade white girls show high body image discrepancies compared to 63% of black girls, right? Why is it always got to be black and white? That's what I always say, right? But at the end of the day, when you say black or white, we're just using a comparison, 50-50, right? But these are two different ethnicities. So, of course, this person is not going to look exactly like that person, right? Some people have different body image types, right? So when you're sitting there trying to compare a white girl versus a black girl, what's happening? You're causing body image issues, discrepancies within the race, right? So we want to think about that, guys. When we're talking about people, I know we like to talk about different races. Try not to do it in front of females, right? Don't do it in front of your little sister. She's listening. You're giving her body image issues. When you're talking about how big that is and how butt block, how padow, all these words that we use to describe beautiful women, just say that and get it over with, right? But when we're doing all that, you have to remember, if you have a young daughter sitting there, she's hearing that. She's hearing in her head what you guys approve of versus what somebody else does. And I'm a guy, I've been around for a long time. Guys all have different preferences, right? You cannot tell someone who they should be with or what their spouse should look like. They may not be attracted to that at the end of the day. And it's sad how society has formulated how even some of our first ladies should look. Okay? I haven't really seen many pictures of the new first lady, but Michelle Obama, I was flicking through pages. I was like, this woman is beautiful, right? Everything just looks so good on her, right? I was just like, wow, Barack, she's a beautiful woman. I was so proud of her to be our first lady. But she was very modest in her apparel. She was sweet as I don't know what. Her children dressed modestly. Her mom dressed modestly. It was a beautiful first family to see. So she was a good example of a good first lady who is beautiful, right? And it's not just the outer beauty, but she was beautiful on the inside, right? And a lot of you, when people call you ugly, they're not seeing the beauty from within, because sometimes beauty's reflection to the world may not be exactly what other people think it should look like, right? Some of us who love flowers, I like roses only because I had a rose bush and I didn't realize I had to cut roses pretty much every day. So I had roses all around my house. So when people come in, they're like, oh, you like roses? I'm like, yes. Right. But I started liking different color roses. Everyone doesn't have to like the same thing. So every one of you, I want you to look at yourself like a rose, a tulip, a flower. Right? Everyone is unique. Every flower is different. Some have freckles. Some have nice curly hair. Some have nice straight hair. You have to understand that everyone is beautiful. All right. So we're still talking about eating disorders, but we wanted to talk about some of the stats, right? Purging. Okay. So for those of you who don't understand what that means, look it up. Google it. Purging. Right? Black teenagers are 50% more likely to purge than their white peers are. All right? So that's something else. It's graphic to mention, but look it up. All right? Ask Siri. Siri, what is purging? All right? That's unnecessary, right? You don't have to let your food go and not let your food digest. You need that food for nutrients. You need that food, right? You need it to make you stronger. As you're growing, you get all the nutrients you need, right? So you need to eat. It doesn't need to go in the toilet or in bottles and put under the bed. Look, by the way, if I see one more of those shows like that, come on, right? That's doing too much. All right, so gender microaggressions, and we've been hearing this term quite a bit now, especially if you've gone through graduate studies, right? Black women who experience gendered racial microaggressions tend to have a poorer body image, be more likely to equate self-worth with their appearance, right? Kids, stop calling people names. Stop telling people they have nappy hair. Stop telling people they have stringy hair. Stop telling people their hair smells like wet dog. These are mean things to say. old wise man once said, if you don't have anything nice to say, don't say anything at all. All right? So this goes with body image. This goes with eating disorders. You're going to see why. And I want you guys to understand that you don't want to be responsible for someone wanting to hurt themselves because you have an opinion that you like to express. Because ultimately, at the end of the day, it's only your opinion. Other people might agree with your opinion, but it's yours. You own it, right? So sometimes we have to not say certain things, because when you say certain things, what happens? You hurt people's feelings, and then you start giving people body image issues, and then you cause issues like eating disorders. All right, so that brings me over to the eating disorder stats. So bulimia, it's been found Latinx people or Latin people are more likely to experience bulimia than non-Latin peers. All right, and again, this is a research study in another country, and I did this for a reason. All right, so yes, Latinas, right? I just now learned how to get my captions in Spanish, so you guys can go back and watch the Counselor Live with Sheldon Stovall 1 through. Right? You can just hit one of my playlists and you can go ahead and watch all the counselors that you can handle. All right? So Latinas, I'm talking to you as well. Okay? So, yes, the Latin princesses that we have seen in this country, Jennifer Lopez and, Ariana Grande and Demi Lovato and different ones who've come through the media as singers. Yes, we're all delightful. But you know what? I was so happy. Yes, I'm going to tell one of my hidden sins. I watched Paris Hilton in Love. I watched the whole thing, and Demi Lovato sang at the end. So I heard about it. I said, oh, wow, she did. And they said she really sang well at her wedding, and I agree. And yes, people kept saying, did you see how much weight she gained? And I said, what weight? I think she looks great. I didn't even know she needed to lose weight. I didn't look at her like that, right? But she really sang. So that was a beautiful thing. Like, everyone is not going to look like you're 19 or 25 for the rest of your life. Once again, go visit your grandparents. That is what you're going to look like. So when you're judging someone else, and it's not a bad thing, you're going to change. Your face and body's going to change too. So we're just kind of going across the cultures. Asian American women are more likely to report low appearance satisfaction than white women, right? Particularly when it comes to eyes. So I'm kind of confused on that one myself. But what I gathered is the colors in the eyes. But I've seen so many diverse Asian people with, very diverse eye colors as well. I don't know if that gene is more popular in the Asian culture, which is probably why they have what they call contacts, if you're that serious, right? If you think you need a different eye color, contacts, right? But looking at some people with those eye surgeries, it's frightening. I'm sure when you turn the lights off, I get scared too. Anyway, so influence on body images in Asian American women. Immediate family and elders seem to influence Asian American women eating behavior and body image, right? So growing up, you hear a lot of people mention that your mom would say, you're going to get fat. Don't eat that. You can't have that. You're going to get fat, right? So it's coming from parents, right? You're going to get fat. Don't do that. You're going to get fat. Right? So when you're hearing those things, that begins to bother your ego as well. It makes you feel uncomfortable, right? So parents, once again, this thing goes back and forth, right? This is awareness time. This is about bringing awareness to your behavior, your attitudes, and how you raise your children, and how you're treating your children, and actually the things you're allowing your children to say to you and then saying to people at school. So Parents, think about it. And I always say this, pick up a book and read it. I remember when the nanny, that movie, that show, The Nanny came on, not The Nanny, Super Nanny, something like that, where the nanny went around helping undisciplined children from parents who had children and didn't know what to do with them. So, she taught so much. I didn't miss one episode. And I was like, how is this woman doing it? Because the parent never took authority over the child and said, I'm your parent. They're children. They're children. And yes, if they're treacherous, like I said, bring them to the church, and we won't go back in that. But, get some help. Call a therapist. Call a counselor. Call the counselor, right? Get some help going on in your homes. Help out your family. Right? You don't want these things to continue. We're trying to break this generation's curse that it seems to have just kept going and going, even since I was in grade school. We're talking about the same things right now. Somebody's not learning something, right? Our children are dying on drugs early. Someone is not taking time to learn about their behavior. All right, so stay tuned to the counselor. We're going to keep going. We're just bringing awareness. Don't get mad at us, all right? Clashes of American culture and the culture from which the women came influenced body image and eating stress issues. Yes, this thing is going on all over the world, right? And worse in some parts. There are women who are absolutely beautiful that have to be covered, right, from head to toe. You cannot even see their eyes in some countries, right? So body image issues even there, right? But do they listen? Think about that. All right, peers had a large influence on whether they accepted or rejected body negativity from families. So it's up to you kids. I never tell kids to talk against their parents, but I will say this. All right, the next time somebody tells you if you eat that, you're going to be fat or you're getting fat, and it happens to your parents, just say, Mom, this is affecting my body image. Turn on the counselor on eating disorders so we can look and learn together. Because if they can't understand it and you can't explain it to them, I will. You can also give us a call, and I'll be happy to explain how they're causing you to have self-image issues and body image problems. All right, so we're going to keep on moving. In a study of young Native American females, the following was discovered. Feelings about their face. Okay, they had feelings about their hair. They felt some kind of way about their weight. They had feelings about their figure. And a lot of them kind of felt uncomfortable with how they were shaped. All right? So once again, that's why these women's stores, there's so many clothes. They take up 3/4 of the department store. I know, guys. Yes. So when, there's so many different types. People look different. None of us look the same. There is not one that is better than another, ultimately at the end of the day. And we're going to keep on going. We want to start running into adults. I think that we're going to take a break here. I want you to follow the next screen. And this will be more of The Counselor with Sheldon Stovall in a few.
When I think about the counselor, I think about all the things that we have questions for, right? Many of us have questions about our lives, our situations, marriages, our jobs, our employment, our children, and so forth. When I think about that, and you say, hey, who can I talk to? Why not the counselor? The counselor is here. He's here for you. So call the counselor. 10 to 2, the counselor.